I am heavy bored.
I may say that the male is entirely hostile. No! In
Resources.
life, friends, is boring. We must not say so.
All right, let's talk about the death of Jenny Fields. What do we think about that? How did you feel about that?
Yeah, so she was assassinated by again another like hillbilly deer hunter type guy.
Yeah, squeal like a
It's
piggy. Yeah,
yeah, it's like in this novel, the rednecks are doing all the the yokels are doing all the bad things to the Yankee. Uh um but yeah, I mean I don't the way I felt about her death is sort of like, okay, Garp can finally be free. Like, because I think, I mean, he loved his mother so much, but I think her and her ideas were the ones that were actually like harming him.
yeah.
Uh, and I guess her as sort of like another martyr for the cause. Uh, the fact that she got involved with the Ellen James Society and all these uh, crazy feminists that were, I guess, supporting the governor who was running. And that's where she got shot, is at a campaign rally, I believe. It's
Campaign
just,
rally for a governor that was like one of the first women running for governor in New Hampshire or something.
yeah. And I mean, she died by the live by the sword, die by the sword in a way. Like
And
her, yeah, the feminism kind of caused her assassination.
and she died being used as a prop for this woman's gubernatorial campaign. Like,
Yeah, for politics, more.
yeah,
Yeah.
as a prop for not even like, yeah, she was
Hmm.
just there to be like an endorser, like a Beyonce at Kamala Harris rally or whatever. But
Yeah.
much more sinister because Beyonce, while of course you could say there's some feminism in it, not quite like what Jenny Fields is supposed to be in this novel, which is supposed to be more like an Andrea Dworkin kind of figure or a Betty Friedan figure.
Hmm.
Uh, Not like a sexual icon like Beyonce has always been her whole career or something. But yeah, I mean, just like celebrity style endorsement. And yeah, I don't know. I thought the assassination of Jenny was really good. I really liked it. And I mean, at this point in the novel, like everything was just churning for me. And I was reading through. But yeah, I was like, man, the death of Jenny Fields, it kind of felt like, of course. But of course, even that scene, right? Like, who tells Garp about it? Well, it's Roberta calling from across the world because they're in Europe at the time, Garp and his family. And Roberta says on page 414, I didn't want you to see it on the show, Roberta was saying. If it would be on TV over there, I couldn't know for sure, or even the newspapers. I just didn't want you to find out that way. Who won? Garp asked lightly, though he knew that this call had little to do with the new or old governor of New Hampshire. She's been shot. Your mother, Roberta said. They've killed her, Garp. A bastard shot her with a deer rifle. Who? Garp whispered. A man, Roberta wailed. It was the worst word she could use. A man. A man who hated women, Roberta said. He was a hunter, Roberta sobbed. It was hunting season, or it was almost hunting season, and no one thought there was anything wrong about a man with a rifle. He shot her. Dead, Garp said. I caught her before she fell, Roberta cried. Yeah, and they said, did they get the man? Garp asked. Someone shot him, or he shot himself, Roberta said. Dead? Garp asked. Yes, the bastard, Roberta said. He's dead too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, yeah. It's always it goes back to the fact that it was a man that shot her.
And it's interesting in that very same conversation, and I wanted to get to you about this with the kind of the Garp is being told that he can't even go to his mother's funeral,
Yeah.
that he can't even attend it because he's a man. No other reason. He's more connected to this woman than any of these other people that are using her as a prop or a symbol or just like her attitude or her book. He's her child, like flesh and blood, and they're saying that he's not allowed.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's it gets to the point where he's like, okay, I'm gonna dress up as a woman to attend my mother's funeral, and that's another one of those things where it's like he's a victim of feminism,
Yeah.
like, and feminism is turning a man into a woman. He has to dress up as a woman in order to go to this funeral because he's feminist. Or like, no, this is a female only funeral. Like, no men allowed.
He has to degrade
Uh,
himself and his sexuality and who he is. He has to be somebody else. He has to perform in order to just see his mother's funeral. I think people don't talk about that enough. But
yeah.
even that, like Roberta's initial reaction, I'm her only family, Roberta, Garp said. You tell them that. She meant a lot to a lot of us, Roberta said sharply. And that's what I mean. Like, you imagine saying that to
Mhm.
somebody's child after they die, that
Yeah.
because you were good friends with this person and liked what they said about politics, that you get to say that she meant like just as much to you. Like,
Mhm.
no, you don't get to do that. But apparently you do if you're feminist enough, or if you take the right amount of hormones in the case of Roberta here and pretend, play act as a woman. And she said, she meant a lot to a lot of us, Roberta said sharply. Yes, and it got her killed, Garp thought, but he said nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to this like
Yeah.
uh, this feminist idea of like being anti-family, anti-nuclear family, um, and uh, more in favor of this like, oh, humanity is your family. It's human society. That's your family. Like, it's not like, someone you marry and have a child with, and that's your family. No, it's like, these other people you meet and have like political alliances with are your family. And that's kind of what feminism, the second wave feminism was. And Irving is clearly criticizing.
That, and I
Um,
just the very next page is where they're talking about this stuff. Please, Roberta, Garp said, you're my best friend. I'll tell you who's to blame, Roberta said. It's men, Garp. It's your filthy, murderous sex. Again, not hers anymore, right? But Garp's only. If you can't fuck us the way you want to, you kill us in 100 ways. That's what she's saying to this guy, giving him the news that his mother's dead. Not me, Roberta, please, Garp said. Yes, you too, Roberta whispered. No man is a woman's friend. I'm your friend, Roberta, Garp said. And Roberta cried for a while, a sound as acceptable to Garp as rain falling on a deep lake. It just, yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, John Irving's clearly criticizing but like to have her say that, like, I mean, no one
Yeah.
in the '70s would like think that that. I mean, especially not a guy like Irving.
And it's people saying that they own his mother more than he does.
Yeah,
That he doesn't appreciate the quote real Jenny Fields, even though he lived with her his entire life, like knows her probably better than any of these women do. Uh, and it's still, in this sense, he has to, yeah, degrade himself to even go to her funeral or her memorial service.
yeah, and yeah, so he gets caught. That was kind of a funny scene where like he did get caught,
Yeah.
uh, trying to be a woman, and Roberta had to defend him. Which is again, that's like why we always like Roberta, even though she says crazy shit like that, she will always like she behaves like a dude. She's always gonna defend Garp, um, and help his family, like more than Jenny did.
That and that even during that scene where uh where he's getting discovered at the funeral, where we get this kind of finally kind of this like that woman that stands at the funeral and doesn't say anything because she's an Ellen Jamesian. And Roberta's
Yeah,
explaining that to him. And then Jenny was wonderful to every single one of them who came to her. But Jenny had finally admitted her disapproval of what they had done, perhaps only to Garp. They're making victims of themselves, Jenny had said, and yet that's the same thing they're angry at men for doing to them. Why don't they just take a vow of silence or never speak in a man's presence? Jenny said. It's not logical to maim yourself to make a point. And of course, this is Garp remembering this after she's dead, sitting at the funeral as like, you know, right before, yeah, that woman's, I know you, the young woman whispered to him. She did not sound happy that she knew him either. And then he gets discovered, yeah, in drag at the funeral, and they have to, yeah, by Pooh Percy of all people, that woman he knows.
Yeah, from childhood. Yeah.
Yeah, which of course, right? What am I thinking of here? There's also the, uh, I think this might be, no, this is when he's still alive. Uh, Garp's work had developed a curious reputation, not altogether unlike what he would have wanted for himself, and even stranger than John Wolfe had imagined. Although it embarrassed Garp and John Wolfe to see how politically the world according to Bensenhaver was both admired and despised, the book's reputation had caused readers, even if for the wrong reasons, to return to Garp's earlier work. Garp politely refused invitations to speak at colleges where he was wanted to represent one side or another of so-called women's issues. Also, to speak on his relationship to his mother and her work, and the sex roles he ascribed to various characters in his books. The destruction of art by sociology and psychoanalysis, he called it, but there were an almost equal number of invitations for him simply to read from his own fiction. And this is the line that I thought was perfect, right? This is Garp, and this is why I love Garp in this novel too. The destruction of art by sociology and psychoanalysis.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's what we're living through the consequences of this that was blooming in the 70s here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's just like everywhere. You can't take a course in literature anywhere where it isn't, being like, oh, what does Lacan have to say about this? What would be the Lacanian interpretation of this novel? I mean, really, that's what graduate programs are, and even like undergrads are still like, the Freudian analysis of this, or the Marxist analysis of this, and all these different types of analysis of literature rather than just interpreting it freely without any of these frames from Derrida. Like, who the hell wants to interpret literature through the philosophy of Jacques Derrida?
Yeah.
What a boring and useless project. And you have to do it if you go to these universities.
Yeah. And this is something that I've obviously been railing against through this entire podcast, where there is even something that you said Marxist, I think a majority of literary criticism now, published in the most prestigious publications on earth, listeners, is some vague class analysis, which is a Marxist framing. It is a political framing on the books. Don't get me started on this. I mean, I've been laughed out of rooms for this where I always people call Edith Wharton a satirist, a black humorist, a dark humorist. I say that's horseshit. I say
Yeah.
that is Marxist class analysis from the 60s that is disfiguring and blurring the understanding of her work and her novels. And it's some pretending thing because the people like the novels, they like reading about these selfish rich people in her novels, but they want to pretend that Wharton is in on the joke or something. But like it's not. It's like a stark reality of the yeah, these people that have like inherited wealth from generations before they were born, they don't
Mhm.
have the same problems as all of us. And actually they are like don't care about anybody in the lower classes because they've never had to, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, she was so good about pointing out specifically the contradictions in her characters,
Right. Yeah.
and the flaws in her characters, that people think like, oh, well, she's like 100% hates them. It's like, no, she loves her characters, their flaws, and also like
Right.
she loves that they're rich and fancy. Like she loves polite
Right.
society. She
As
was
if
not
yeah.
critiquing polite society, like
Right.
in that
This
way.
woman who was born into so much wealth, she never worked a day in her life. Edith Wharton, we're talking about. Okay. Suddenly didn't actually like these people. She was making fun of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a fucking break. Okay. Like you're it's wish fulfillment disguised as literary scholarship. And that's really destroyed the interpretation of several of her books. So
Yeah.
listeners out there that want to write me an email, go ahead. I mean, I've been laughed out of, panels because of saying things like this, but I always ask the question, people are like, she's a satirist, and I always ask, what is she satirizing? And I can never get an answer from those people. I'm like, what is being satirized here? It's always this, oh, rich people. Really? What
Yeah.
about rich people's being
That's
satirized? Like, yeah, like I'm just
that's
like,
always the
what are you
answer.
calling satire in this? Because I read these novels, I didn't feel it at all. I didn't see it that way at all.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
just an
yeah.
appreciation. Yeah.
And this is it's the reason I brought that up is because I mean, one, this gets to another thing that Helen says to Garp when he's not working on his stuff, right? When he's like, uh, Helen's telling him like, you make people too angry, Helen told him in bed. You get them all wound up. You inflame. You should lay off. You should do your own work, Garp. Just your own work. You used to say politics were stupid, and they meant nothing to you. You were right. They are stupid. They do mean nothing. You're doing this because it's easier than sitting down and making something up from scratch, and you know it. You're building bookshelves all over the house and finishing floors and fucking around in the garden, for Christ's sake. And just this is what I've always said on this podcast too. The reason we have this political obsession right now, particularly when it comes to literature, is because talking about politics is easier than talking about the careful, complicated characters that have been that Irving crafted in this that isn't so black and white.
Mhm.
It's easier to put a political framework on top of this the way Irving does in the introduction here and just dismiss certain things, certain behaviors, whatever that don't line
Yeah.
up. It's easier to talk about that than it is to talk about why this novel is still so popular, why this novel struck a chord. It's always politics is easier than making something up from scratch creatively. So you can talk about political things, uh, uh, and you don't have to do as much creative work. Uh, it's just, yeah. And I
But
think
I
that
mean,
we're suffering from that. Yeah.
but in a way, this is a novel about politics in a way that is anti-feminist. And I mean, I think Irving distances himself from that because he wants to appear to be like this. Oh, I'm a modern man. I'm a progressive, right? That word progressive, like, oh, I
Yeah.
believe in modern values. I'm not old fashioned. Like I was raised in the 60s, so we were supposed to be, open to everything. So this is why 40 years later, I have to create a new framework around what my novel was about.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just another quote that talks about like the enemy of art and enemy of artists. I think it's John Wolfe talking about Garp towards the end here, uh, where Wolfe says assassination, in Wolfe's opinion, was an increasingly popular amateur sport of the times, and political true believers, as he called nearly everybody, were always the sworn enemy of the artist, who insisted, however arrogantly, on the superiority of a personal vision.
Mhm.
And I think that's a big thing of this too. Like, yeah, true believers, political true believers, are the sworn enemy of the artist. And that is so true. That is why art is suffering right now at every
Yeah,
level, at every seriousness, at the big budget Hollywood films are suffering because political true believers are coming in and they are the absolute sworn enemy of the artist and art. Uh, and they're running
yeah.
every institution.
I mean, even down to the smaller level, like how many how how many like devout liberal podcasters would cover like the films of Mel Gibson now?
Right. Yeah.
While, any, people like us are just happy to be like, yeah, John Irving's a huge libtard, but his books are really good, so we're
Right.
gonna
But
cover
read
it,
this
right?
novel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that doesn't really
Just like,
matter because look at this novel. Yeah.
yeah, you can separate the art from the artist, I'd say like 98% of the time, usually it's very easy to do that. I mean, even with Stephen King and people
Yeah.
like that, it's like, Joyce Carol Oates, like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
really care I don't like what they say on Twitter, but their novels are still great.
Yeah, and the politics should only matter if the politics comes into the book and starts hurting the fiction or the story or the craft of it because they're too preoccupied with something else. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was all right. Let's talk about Garp's death. What did you think about Garp's death?
Well, I mean, as we were saying, like, politics creeps into everything, and it is the death of the artist. And yeah, that's what happened in Garp's death. He was assassinated while he was like, I guess, coaching a gym class in the very gymnasium that he went to school in. And the assassin was Pooh, was it?
Yeah, Pooh Percy,
Yeah,
the youngest
it was
daughter of this.
Pooh Percy. She was an Ellen Jamesian. Um, yeah, so politics radicalized her, thinking Garp was the enemy, uh, that Garp was, you know, probably the reason for his mom's death in some way.
She
You
kept
know,
blaming him for the death of her sister who Garp hooked up with in high school when they were kids.
oh, was
She
that
kept
okay?
accusing him of fucking her sister to death because Cushy Percy, you learn, eventually died during childbirth many years later, once Garp was an adult and married to Helen and, all of that. But then that Pooh Percy kept saying that, oh, he fucked my sister to death, but it wasn't Garp. It
Yeah,
wasn't even fucking
okay. It
necessarily. It
wasn't
was it
Garp.
was
Okay.
complication during childbirth that caused her sister to die, but she blames Garp for it. There's
I, I guess if he hadn't fucked her as much, he would have survived the childbirth or something.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess, yeah.
yeah,
But that and you know, of all the things in the novel, the one thing I had a problem with was Garp's death. I hated it. I hated the ending of this. Uh Maybe it was just because I was so connected to this novel reading it and I was just I don't know that scene though where he dies, I just felt like, man, that's how he dies.
yeah.
That's how he gets taken out.
I think we're supposed to feel like that, though.
Yeah, yeah, like a
I mean, because
stupid,
it
yeah.
is like, he is supposed to be like the victim of feminism. This is what it does. This is how tragic it is sometimes. What it wreaks on society, especially now.
Especially because
Eh,
it gives the women participating in it permission to again blame this vague generality of men in
mhm.
general, male sexuality in general. Male sexual desires are the root of all evil, right? This kind of every problem is caused because men like to have sex and desire sex. Uh, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And it really frames. I mean, it just really kind of frames the whole novel. If you think of the beginning when Jenny went into the wrestling room and felt like she was home almost.
Yeah.
He really describes it as like she felt like she belonged there and was comfortable there in amidst of these men like wrestling each other, like sweaty, smelly men wrestling each other. He does in that scene like describe like the smells and the feel of the room,
Very, very
the gymnasium.
womb-like. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's initially and that is the same room and that he dies in. That's the same sport that he ended up loving and then participating in, which John Irving was like a wrestling coach. I think we mentioned the last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
He's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame or something like that.
In like the
Uh,
local Oklahoma or something. Because I think
yeah,
he even after he got his big break as a writer, I think he coached wrestling, in his free
yeah,
time for like many years until he was like too old to do it or was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. But like apparently like 20 years or something until he was like 50. He like just would coach at the local school in Stillwater or something where he grew up.
yeah. That's why it's like you can tell there is like
Yeah.
some of Irving in Garp, and that's why I feel that Garp being such a victim of feminism and his own mother almost like causing his own death in that pre predetermined, predestined way.
And the woman was
Um,
dressed like his mother. Pooh Percy was dressed like his mother to kill him.
yes,
She killed this woman's son in the name of this vague sense of wrongdoing from years past.
yeah. It's so it was very that
Which,
early scene is very prophetic.
yeah.
And so yeah, I think we're not supposed to like it. And I mean it's because we're not supposed to like how that came about. Radical feminists.
Yeah.
That's the villain of the novel. And
Yeah.
John Irving just
If you're hearing this, it's because you are listening to the free public feed of Heavy Board. To get complete, uncensored, uninterrupted, full access to this podcast, become a subscriber at patreon.com/heavyboard. That's right, Heavy Board is made possible by subscribers like you. For less than 1 cup of coffee per month, you will receive private access to uncensored, full-length episodes, Jerk Shop, heavy bonus content, subscribers-only AMA episodes, bonus extended interviews, and more. Come join the conversation today at patreon.com/heavyboard.